What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Slumpfish Sunday Coffee and Sense Extravaganza. Today we're going to be celebrating the Digitone 2. I forgot to look at the camera right as the video started, of course. This episode is all about celebrating the joys of caffeine and oscillators. Oh, that's glorious. I want to build today a song, from the top, like usual, but I don't want to go into it with a very specific plan or preconception. I want to jump in, no ego, nothing that I think that I should be pushing onto the music. I want the music to organically emerge from the Digitone as we play around with it, because 90% of the time, that's probably how my sessions go. So this episode is kind of embracing the real way that I use this instrument. So without much further ado, let's jump into it. Track 1. So we got our blank project here. Let's go to our machine. Let's just start playing around with stuff. FM, yeah, start with our classic FM tone. Let's find a different algorithm. Sure, playing around with some ratios. We haven't heard anything yet. Now we're going to jump to the second page, put some modulation on it. Let's open up these keys, drop to some lower notes. That's like the classic sort of dorky FM sound. And I know describing it as dorky is kind of, sacrilegious. We're in the presence of the glory of Digitone 2 right now. But it is what it is. So now I've got that envelope kind of taming the dorkiness, kind of starting dorky and then getting less dorky as the sound jumps forward. We go all the way to the bottom. Okay, let's keep playing with this. Push up our attack time. So we're getting an interesting collision there where the A operator is pushing at the same time that the B operator is dropping. So if we push the A operator too far, you get this kind of da-do, da-do. Might be more pronounced on a higher note. It's like two tones mixed in there. That's kind of the beauty and the power of FM synthesis, I like that interesting stuff that's happening at the end of the sound, but I don't like the initial kind of bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, I think it's... Let's jump back here to our feedback. Let's take a look at our algorithm. So the B2 operator has the feedback applied to it. So if we turn up feedback, we're getting like some crustiness on the top, right? Let me turn it down a little bit for y'all. Ooh, whoa, you heard that? That is a sweet spot. I feel like Digitone 2, your job is just to search, discover, explore, have an open mind, and try to find those sweet spots. This is how you know you're getting close to something. Oh, so good. Okay. Save it, because we wanna hold on to that. Maybe let's play with our all right, that's interesting. Let's jump back here to our ratios. Ooh, a lot of interesting tones in there. Screaming String 76 says, I default to wave tone too much. I feel you, bro, because wave tone is like, it's just there when you need it. On the original Digitone, like what I really wanted like constantly was something like the wave tone, because FM synthesis, you know, I'm searching and I'm finding things, but the wave tone is, you know, sometimes you just want a subtractive synth. The wave tone is also really powerful for being a subtractive synth. It's not just like a filter in some waveforms. So we're gonna definitely have to do some interesting wave tone stuff today as well, I think. Whew, okay, save it. All right, let's play with our turn it down a little bit. Okay, this is cool. Let's audition a different algorithm, see what that does for us. Ooh, nah, nah. I like that right there. Let's save it. Now it's got this really interesting, odd, listen. There's like, you know, a little transient there, like we're slapping a little plastic bucket or something. That's just kind of part of FM, right? Taking away the attack time from our A operator basically eliminates that. That sound was being created by tones being added to the sound, and it was kind of, when you have a really short change in a sound like that, it's going to read most often as like percussive. Now that could be a cool sound, but that's not what I want. Let's go back to, actually, so I'm going to reload this because I had a different attack amount. All right, save it. Now let's jump back here to our effects. Let's put some reverb on it. Let's do function, send effects. Let's add some delay time. Oh, sorry, this is the delay. What am I doing? Let's add some decay time. I feel a lot like for a long time I was like effects agnostic, kind of like, oh, I just want to be able to make sounds without, you know, adding these extra stuff to it. But lately I'm just like, no, these effects sound awesome. Just put them on. You know, don't worry about stuff like that. But not that you worry about stuff like that, but I know that I get preoccupied with these ideas of like, what is the right or wrong way to make a track, when the reality is it always depends on the song. It always depends on the session. Screaming String 76 says 100%. It really fills the gaps that I spent too much trying to do in FM tone on DN1. Cool. I'm glad I'm not alone on that. I'm glad I'm not alone. Oh, oh my God, it's so good. Colombian coffee, y'all. All right, save it. And notice, I think that note sounds best. Let's pull off a little bit of this reverb. Just a hair of overdrive. Let's jump back to our send page. Now, if you're ever looking for a way to just immediately get interesting changes to the sound, your little harmonics module down here is the way to go. So right now we got to take a look at our mix. what we're getting is a mix of the A and C, A operator going into the C carrier and the B1 operator going into the B2 operator. The mix is pretty far over, so we're mostly getting this A and C, but both are being affected by the B1 and the B2 operator. Which means in this case that if we turn the harmonics to the right, it's going to start messing with the A and B operators. If we go to left, it's going to mess with the C carrier. It's important to know because I've had times where I start messing with the harmonics and I realize that according to the mix, none of the changes are audible at all. Most algorithms don't mix up all four of these things the way that algorithm 6 does. It's kind of the most complex. I don't know if it's the most complex, but it's fairly complex in that way. Oh! Ah! See, we're finding a sweet spot. Okay, so you can see there's a jump there when we get to the 7.18 value. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, park it right here around like 2.78. We're going to jump over here to our LFO, set our destination to affect harmonics. And let's go for, we'll start with just a simple triangle shape. And we're going to leave it in free run mode. And we're going to jump so that we're in the mult speed because I don't know yet what the tempo for this track is going to be. And if we leave it where it just says BPM right there, let me show you. Wait, what's going on? Oh, sorry. When it says BPM for the speed, that means that number is relative to how fast the tempo of the song is. Since we don't know what that tempo is yet, we need to stick to this over here. And we could change that later. All right. What does it sound like if we go low? Okay. So we're kind of surfing around that sweet spot. Mr. Aegis says, I wonder if there's a way for additional firmware updates to add new algorithms. Bro, I hope so, man, because that was actually one of the biggest complaints one of the most valid criticisms when the Digitone 2 came out that I saw was people were like, hey, like the FM tone machine is the exact same. And at the time I was kind of like, well, I already love and know the FM tone machine. So, I don't like it when things that I love change. It's a very human thing to admit. So I was like, yeah, okay, I don't really mind that. But now I'm a little further on in my journey, and I really do wish we could have, for example, even just more interesting algorithm shapes. Now, there was an interview with the guy ESS, who designed the Digitone, the FM tone machine specifically. And I think, I'd have to find it, but what he basically said is he felt that the algorithms were already covering all our bases. But like, maybe that's true, maybe it's, I don't care. Give me some more, man. Show me some extra stuff. A lot of people at the time, I think, were critical of the Digitone 2 because they're like, hey, well, like, why can't we get 6 operator FM? Just give us the same machine, but with 6 or, just a very interesting idea. So we're surfing around in that sweet spot. Maybe let's pump up our depth a little more. Oh, too far. Back it off, back it off. let's go ahead and start laying some stuff down. DNVI. I love it. DN6, baby. So I want to go to our keyboard setup, flip this to folded so that we can fit more keys on the screen. Where we got scale, let's surf around and just try out some scales, see how they feel. Giza IDM, happy Sunday, brother. Thank you for being here. Let's also play around with our root note, right? Oops, wrong one. Okay. Actually, let's just keep it simple. Stick to C. All right, let me jump to setup real quick. Play mode. I want to switch this just momentarily to mono to see. That way our notes aren't stepping over each other. And this is interesting, but maybe we could bring off some of these really, really high, sharp frequencies. We need to do something a little unexpected with this. We need to not be afraid to mess this up. Like I said at the beginning, I really want today to be all about like searching. And sometimes that means like disrespecting and being destructive to your own, efforts. So I saved it. That's one of the brilliant parts about Digitone 2 is you aren't actually ever going to potentially lose anything because you could just save it, bring it back. So let's get crazy. Let's just do something unmanageable. Oof. That's crazy. So algorithm 4, the B1 operator is the one that has the feedback on it. So as we change, it's changing the tone of the feedback. Let me turn the feedback up so y'all can really hear it. Well, one, two, three, four. That was not the beat. Hold on. What happened here? Okay. Not sure what happened there. I probably hit the wrong button or something. That's okay. Okay, that's a good place to start. Flocky B2M says, hi, I love your videos. Do you do private courses for the Digitone too? Thank you for asking. That's something that I'm trying to get my setup able to do. Because what I have it set up now for is streaming, but one-on-one, I'm having a lot of difficulty with that, to the point where I've had to, basically go back on offering a private lesson to a person before. So I don't want that to happen again. So I have to get that figured out first. But if you're ever interested, just feel free to email me. My email is slumpfish.tx@gmail.com. Okay. Okay, lowering the ratio on C kind of cleaned up the tones a bit because it was a little farty. I like that, but this added a lot of meat back on the bone. This does it even more. Okay, that one's the cleanest. Stick with it for now. Now, we did this with step record mode, right? Where I just punched in the notes, which means they're all controlled by this length amount right here. I think I know what I want to do. Crazy. Let's play around with that feedback by using the LFO. Jump to our second LFO. We're going to put it in one-shot mode. We're going to do it at the half value. So this is like a unipolar LFO move. We're going to drop down and we're going to find feedback. And let's try to move it backwards. So I don't know, that's an interesting tonal shift there. Oops, wrong one. Doesn't matter. So that's going up. That's sending the feedback up dramatically. Let's slow down our speed, just so we can kind of get a gauge on like what the speed is like. Now let's jump to our third LFO and let's control the depth amount of LFO number 2. And let's lock this one to the BPM. Set our speed to 32, so it's going to be like in even amounts affecting our sequencer. Okay, that's a little faster than we need. But let's do the ramp shape. Very important. If you're going to use the LFO in free run mode, whenever you're playing around with your speed, stop what you're doing, hit stop, and then hit stop again. Because what that does is that resets the phase of your LFO. And this is set to be locked to our tempo, right? The BPM is 2 and it's at 32. So everything should be even. But when you're playing around with speed and you're getting in between those values, what's going to happen is it's just going to basically put the phase of your waveform in a different spot relative to the sequencer. And that's not a bad thing because really cool stuff can come from it. But what ends up happening is, say, you turn off the synth and come back to it the next day. Where's the phase at? It's not in that same spot. So I like to have this starting from the same point every time. So the only way the phase changes is with my fingers playing with this knob. Okay. Cool. I like that. Next sound. Let's jump to the next sound. So to be honest, y'all, when I make music on the Digitone 2, I do move pretty slow. Like I'm looking at the time right now, it's been about 30 minutes and I have one sound. That's not uncommon for me. I like to move fast with these streams generally, but today is about kind of being raw and just showing the creative process as is. And I don't want to lie to y'all, it doesn't always look, super fast and cool whenever I'm working on this stuff. So let's jump to our wavetone machine. I want to turn down so we're only working with one of the oscillators. Just because I like to keep it simple, we can bring in that second oscillator if we think we need it. Now our other sound, it's taking up a lot of real estate. There's a lot of low tones, a lot of high up tones. So the second track, we gotta contrast it somehow. So I'm just gonna, by default, set this to like a short amount of time, right? Let's start playing with stuff. Mr. Aegis says, I'm super slow. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone in that because I really try to, I have actually, I mean, maybe it's one of my problems where I just have a little too much fun turning the knobs and I could be a little more productive too. But also this is my joy. It's one of my favorite things in the world. And it's one of the only things in my life, aside from like maybe exercising vigorously where I can truly get lost in time to where like time goes by and I don't feel it the same way, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Giza says, gotta be true to the process. Thank you for understanding. By the way, y'all, if you haven't seen Giza IDM's channel, Red Hot, Dig Attack, Digitone 2, super awesome live music tutorials, also just really great sound design, break beats, acid jams. Make sure y'all check it out. Giza says maybe you can make this live stream a 2 or 3-parter where you go at your pace to finish the track. Thank you, man. That's a really good idea. I guess we'll see see where we are at the end of this. American 7517, thanks for being back, brother. He says, just made it in. I hooked my Digitone 2 up to the Walrus QI. Very ambient fun. Hell yeah, bro. Is anyone gonna use the? Is anyone gonna get that outbox for the being able to send out your individual channels? Because I feel like something like that with a really good reverb pedal or something could get some really remarkable, crazy stuff. Mr. Aegis says, I think FM synthesis rewards small, slow changes and careful attention. Okay. I like that. I like that. That's the vibe for today for sure. Okay. And Giza IDM, I appreciate you too, brother. Cool. So I'm glad I'm not the only one interested in getting the MIDI box, or I think, yeah, the outbox or whatever it's called. I just know that, do I need it? Maybe not, but it will be really sick. Because that's actually one of the biggest things I've wanted to do, is to be able to track out, excuse me, individual stuff and mess with it and bring it back into a mixer or something, because I don't necessarily need it to just be a separate track on a recording or something, you know? Oh, yeah, for sure. Screaming String says EQs, filters, solos. Like, man, that's probably one of the biggest things, is just the ability to like EQ an individual track would make my mixes, I think, a lot better, because it would still be like, it wouldn't be like, you know, like, oh, I can just do anything I want to the sound now. It'd still have to be like a deliberate choice. But there are times I'm making a song and I'm like, okay, I would 100% put in a little like dip there at, you know, 500 hertz or something. And I just kind of live with it. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's not how this song sounds. But because sometimes when you know it's just that one little change that you could make that would help a lot, it's, you're like, ooh, ooh, what can you do, you know? So those 4 notes are kind of nice. Let me, let's turn on our metronome. So going back to track 1, I think the tone where we have the ratio C up 1 is going to fit our other sound a little bit better. Ooh. I like that note. Hmm. Whoops. Forgot to increase the length of my track. Okay, that's interesting. Let's turn on Portamento. Let's go to track 2, put some reverb on it. Little delay. Let's play with our delay time. Okay, track 1. Whew. Okay, let's audition some different filters. This one's like a little less like intense with that resonance. It's a little more broad. Let's audition the Legacy low pass. Okay. I like that. I like that the best so far. So I want to kind of hold off on doing drums just yet because I know me and I know that that's probably like my strength because I feel like I can make drums that will fit into the sonic space of sounds competently. I'm not saying I can always do it like in a very inspired way or, because not everything you do is going to be great. But I feel pretty confident that, like, with, say, a track like this, that bass is taking up a lot of room, and then that lead needs room for it to play. And when it comes to sculpting your sounds, specifically drums, to kind of fit around that and to kind of give it a frame, like so that the picture can sit inside the frame, but at the same time, the frame is also interacting with it. It's not the best metaphor, but to kind of set like a top and a bottom for everything to happen in between, I feel pretty confident about that. And so I want to try to push this like harmonic side of things first before I go in and, start to really lean into what I love to do the most. Angel DC54 says Sid Station? Question mark. I would love a Sid Station. The Mono Machine has a SID station, but it's like a simplified one. and it gets some really crazy tones. Now, remember what I was saying earlier about the phase of the LFO? I can hear, so track 1, we have this shape right here, which is the sawtooth shape. That's a really dramatic shape to put onto sounds sometimes because it's so jerky. It's like we're up top, now we're at the bottom. You know, it's like a square wave is the same and is also similarly very jerky. It's very disruptive. And if we have our phase not locked in where we want it, then it is not going to. That's actually not the best example. This is the one that I need to be exampling because this one is locked to the tempo. So hitting stop twice, very important for resetting the phase of our LFOs. Because I was hearing some of those disruptive jerks in the tone happening in places where they weren't happening before. And that's part of why I like this sound, is where it's happening. All right. Let's go back to FM tone. Let's have a little fun. So we're going to hold down the send page and hit the yes button. That immediately populates, you know, our parameters with a bunch of random values. Jump to the next page, do the same thing. Now, I don't want, you know, for example, the A operator to take forever to be heard. So I'm going to just dial in a small amount of attack. And otherwise, I'm going to respect what the randomness gave us here. And then we're just going to try to... Yeah, that's not a sound I would usually make, right? I really like how it sounds when the B ratio is dropping like that. So I wonder what it would sound like if we tried to apply some modulation to it. Like, for example, we could just exponential drop, put it in one-shot mode, put it up to like a healthy, you know, speed like that. Okay, wasn't the sound that I thought was going to happen, but I instantly like it. So that's the opposite direction. So what we want to do is actually bring our ratio down. So now it will jump up and fall down. I want it to be chaotic, but not too chaotic. And let's play with our speed a little bit. We don't have to worry about locking the tempo to this because it's one shot. That sounds like a SID station a little bit. Yeah, those kind of like crusty tones. Let's try a different algorithm. So where this sounds best is the algorithm where the B operators are making it to the final output. But I think 3 is our winner here. Interesting. So we can pull down. Ooh. Sounds interesting. If we pull down the C ratio, right, all the way to the bottom, let's jump back here to the very last page. This is like the, the secret spot for like truly getting the most twisted sounds. Let's take our C ratio and we'll pull it down. You can pull it down so far that it stops being a wave that can be heard and becomes like an LFO where it's too slow. It's below, 20 hertz. So what we've done here is we've kind of pulled out ratio C. And ratio C was kind of giving us, this sort of intense sound, this intensely present but unwavering tone that was not as interesting. It wasn't. Now, I don't know if you have your headphones on or if you can hear these really low tones, but like if as I pull the C offset and we get up in this range, you start to hear it again. And it's a really low subtone. We're also getting some really interesting and exciting, movement to the sound when we go up high too. Let's jump to our LFO. Let's get the C offset. Let's put it on the saw wave, and we'll do one-shot mode. Slow down a bit. Okay. And let's try a high pass filter with a very long decay. And then we'll crank up that sample rate. Okay, let me save this because I want to jump to, let's see, ratio B is being connected to the relative tempo, and there might be a different tempo that we want to take this to. So I should have done this before and I didn't. I'm going to flip it to mult 8, so it's not going to be attached to that, and I'm going to now have to drag the speed down slightly because our tempo is 113, and when you have it in mult mode, it locks it to 120 BPM. So you can hear it's faster now. Okay, save it. Put some reverb on it. Save it. All right, now what does that sound like alongside our other tracks? I hear it. I hear it. Let's turn up the reverb, put some delay on it, some chorus. I feel like that's like a sound you just drop in. You drop it in like one side of 128 steps. So save it. Yuri Kalishnikov, thank you for being here, homie. Sorry it's thundering and lightning where you're at. Hopefully it passes without incident. I hope these are some good rain vibes for you. Some let the storm pass vibes, you know? Thank you for being here. Cool. That is coming along for me very nicely. I think what we need is perhaps like a really, really high, ghostly, a sound with a lot of air to it. Something that really sits, kind of floats above everything, which, you know, I'm imagining. So higher frequencies and something that can stand out from these other tones in the spectrum of time. So like the shape of how long they hold for and linger on the song, because obviously that's the that's just like holding notes. So that's extremely static. And then we have our melody that's kind of like dancing a little bit, but leaving space. So what's in between there? Let's find something. And let's go to FM drum. And I'm not going to use the FM drum to make a drum. Let's use it to make some FM tones, because this is a 3 operator FM. It's not as easy to see the algorithms. They're in this tiny, they crammed it into this tiny little window up here. But you have these different arrangements for it. And just like with the FM tone machine, changing these aren't going to do anything if you don't have some actual, modulation happening on this second page. And it comes with the operator halfway dialed up by default. There's no attack. It's just decay and sustain, because it's for drums, right? But we can modulate that if we want it. So I'm just going to pull it up to the top by default. Let's play around. Now I said I wanted something kind of high frequency, so let's jump up. Yeah, jump up an octave. And that, to me, that's cool, but again, it's like kind of like FM dork mode activate. Sometimes that's like the perfect vibe to complement other sounds. Like it's all about context, of course. Turn this down a little bit. Okay, let's now try to play around with the envelope for this. So that's what it sounds like when the A drops. Let's try it with the B. So the B is really high. So it's not quite as clear. It's not as easy to hear what it's doing. Let's turn down. Oh, you know what? If we jump over here to our algorithm, yeah, we're hearing some changes, but it's kind of subtle. Very subtle. The B is really dependent upon how much of the A is coming through. Mr. A just says, would be cool if you could start a sound in FM drum and transfer it to FM tone. That would be cool, but I'm not sure the algorithms would match. Sorry, it's kind of like harsh when you're just hearing a sound like that with no, there's no, like a static sound without any movement can get exhausting really quickly. Now, if you hold down function while you turn this knob, it will basically lock your ratios to values that are musical. Because again, this is designed for drums, and being able to pull in between those tones is where you get some of the most like exciting and very precise control over like the tone of like a drum sound, where the notes don't matter so much as just like the tone, right? But sometimes it feels easier to hear what's going on when you're not just jumping by those predetermined, ratio values. Because you can kind of get like a fractured sound. And when you get, so this is at 0.500 operator B, operator A is just a little bit off from 2.500, which would be basically locked in a nice mathematical ratio. With the B, it's not, it's slightly off. So we're getting this fantastic movement. A natural kind of tremolo. So let's keep playing with that. Giza says, I need a refill. You're right, man. I'd have to bust out the pour over. It would take like 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna have to push through this one. No, I love this coffee. It's so good. Another thing that's fun to do is, so like the A, let's go over to the LFOs, let's find ratio A, and let's just put a little bit of modulation on that parameter. We'll just put a little bit of depth. We could do stuff like put it in one-shot mode and make it a ramp. All right, so yeah, we'll do this sawtooth shape, right? Flip the speed to the other way so that it flips our shape upside down. And let's go, oh, it's too fast. So we'll go really slow with it. took it off one shot mode. Let's put it in just like, yeah, sampling. Nah. Yeah, let's put it in trig mode so it starts from the same point of the waveform, but the waveform will be free to move around. Mellow Kit Music, thank you for being here, homie. Giza asks, what is it? The coffee, it's a Colombian coffee. I like to mix it a little bit with decaf because, you know, gets my heart pumping a little bit too hard sometimes with the regular caffeine, but it's really, yeah, so I have Colombian decaf and then Colombian beans, and I just grind them up, put them in the pour over, and I have a nice little, thing, little tea kettle that electronically gets hot. It's like the best coffee setup I've ever had. I used to never drink black coffee. I used to be like, oh, you got to put something in it, and I started doing less and less over the years. And then once I like actually got like a nice bean, and not that my beans are really nice, and then I would do this pour over method, that was when I was like, okay, I can enjoy just this coffee for what it is. Probably also I'm just getting a little more old, a little more bitter, just like the coffee. Troy Wizard, good to have you back, dog. Troy Wizard asks, how do you make snares on the DN2? We're going to get to some snares soon, I think. I'm just trying to wrap up some harmonics. But yeah, oh man, I could talk about snares all day. But I got to finish at least this track right here before we get there. So right now what we're affecting is operator A's ratio. And we got to be really careful because if we do too much, that was crazy. So if we push it too high, it basically stops doing anything. That's not changing the tone. Well, I'm hearing tiny fluctuations there. Where we drop it down to these slow speeds. There's like a threshold we cross and then it starts coloring the tone. So this is the magic of a square wave, because if you can find the right depth amount, it will jump between, two different values on only those two values, which, like for example, if I put this on sample and hold, it's jumping between two possible tones. Now I don't want it to be sample and hold. I want it to be, actually let's try putting it in trig mode free, but I just want it to be running. I think we could go faster on that speed. Oh, let's turn it way up. Turn that speed way up. Okay, something really important that I needed to point out. When you have a square wave going that slow, what happens is it jumps to the value, but when you have it in trig mode, you got to be holding down that note for a while before it switches. Now, the tone that we got was really nice. So if we dial this in, because we're pretty close to 2.5 as our A operator, the other tone that we weren't hearing, that it was jumping to, is also pretty nice as well, because it's like, an equal distance away from where we start. We could put this at 2.5. And then maybe bring down our depth. It's just so fun to get weird with it though. Okay, I don't want to spend forever on this, and I know I can. So let's try a sine wave. It's going to be a little cleaner. Interesting. Okay, I like that amount of movement there. Snake Jazz, good to see you, bro. Thank you for being here. And Giza says, hell yeah, just getting a decent medium roast that's roasted recently. Being able to control your grind and water ratio really brings out the flavor profile without the need of milk and sugar. You are a man that sounds like he knows his coffee, and I'm going to defer to you, bro. Oh, cheers to that. F Starbucks, bro. For real though, Starbucks stopped being good a long time ago. It's just like sugar and milk, and that's fine. I like those things too. But that's, I'd rather have, once I've found out like, okay, I can make a nice black cup of coffee, and that's like a different experience than when you're getting your jacked up, chocolatey, sweet drink. And I like those things, but not as, only sometimes, whereas I want this every day. This is my life here. This is my life blood. All right. Now, some really harsh tones there. So we're going to bring down. I'm going to switch to one of these softer filters. Push up my resonance a little bit. We're still getting a lot of that movement. Now, one thing we can do is go to the next LFO, find LFO1 at the bottom where it says mod 1, and go to speed. Now we can start messing with the speed because that will make for some really interesting combinations. So let's pull down let's make our speed real slow. Let's put our depth, not too big. Well, let's find out. A grinder is like a square wave LFO. I love that. And I agree. A grinder is the way to go. Troy Wizard, glad to have you here from Turkey, man. Let me bring back some of these high tones, so I bet we'll hear a little bit more of this movement. In fact, let's jump to our random, but let's turn our slew up. So if you've never messed with the slew on the random, random will just jump to different values. Slew will basically make sure that that jump is not so dramatic and intense. The slew will just kind of be like, okay, let's smoothly go to that new value instead of just like jumping to it super dramatically. We'll put a little bit of this on it. Okay, it's not doing as much as I want it to. So let's try messing with, let's get reckless. Let's mess with that depth a little bit. Okay, so it's doing quite a lot to like mess with that sound. If we go to our filter here, let's take out some of those low tones and pull out some of these high tones with our nice low pass here. Interesting. And we need to put some effects on it. We just do. 2 or 4 pole grinder. Depends if you want medium, coarse, or fine grind. 2 pole grinder is the way to go. I agree, Mr. Aegis. All right, save it. Okay, what is this going to sound like when we add it to the other stuff? I like that. Just hold those chords down. So we're going to do record, stop, hold down the keyboard so it shows me the notes. I just hit my 2 notes for the chord. Now they are there, and we're going to go to trig. We're going to set it to infinite. And then we're going to, actually, let's put it at 128. I think that would be okay. We're going to put it at 128, and let's make our pattern 128 steps long. Oh, okay. So in your personalized settings, you can turn this off. Sometimes I like it off, sometimes I like it on. But when you increase to 128 steps, you know, you're adding what, 8 pages? It copies over your notes for you. And we don't want that in this situation because this note is 128 steps long. Let's use our LFO to play with the volume. Or we could play around with our pitch a little bit too. You can hear it's kind of wavering. What I think I want to do is play with our speed a little bit. Okay. Let's try to do the longest decay time possible and see what that would sound like. Not long enough, unfortunately. Okay. Cool, I like that. If I had more LFOs, I would probably do stuff like I like that. Ooh, I like that. I would probably do stuff like, just further add movement to that chord, but, we're out of LFOs. We could do MIDI loopback, but let's cross our bridge when we get there. Now, Troy Wizard mentioned snares. So it is my favorite type of sound to make. I think this song is ready for some sort of beat backbone. So we're going to do function, machine, FM drum. Okay. So FM drum, I want to go ahead and dial in a little bit of sweep time. Now, this parameter doesn't do anything unless we dial up some depth. Every snare is different. Snares are a little bit more unmanageable too. That's kind of what makes them fun, because I end up making stuff I didn't intend to make. Mellowkit says, we want 8 LFOs. Man, I want 16 LFOs, bro. Okay, there's a small click in there. So it has like an initial impact. Let's turn up our modulation. Because it's low, it's kind of giving it some body underneath it. So let's play with our ratio. Let's also pull down our sustain, pull out our decay. So it can either give us like a really short click, or it can be like, it can give us that like FM, like hitting a metal trash can type sound, a sound that has no resonation. And we give it resonation by increasing the sustain. We don't need to do that. Okay, I want to go back here to the third page and take this decay, pull it down. Because I don't need my snare to be ringing out forever. I do want to have the whole time be modestly dialed up so that the note itself sustains at that max volume for a period of time. Clutch Haskins, thank you for being here, bro. Glad to have you back. Now we can also mess with the phase of the C carrier, which, like, the FM operators are affecting that C carrier. That's what's giving it that metal bucket, plastic bucket type sound. And so if we change where the waveform begins, what that does is it's going to sometimes start off with a little bit more of a click, and sometimes be a little more clean. Right now it's starting from 0 because phase is all the way at 0, which means like the waveform begins from nothing and then jumps out, and that's always going to be like the cleanest option. Now sometimes this doesn't do a lot, so let's see. It's kind of negligible what it's doing there, so we don't need to sweat it too much, I think. Let's bring in some ratio B. Let me pull down ratio A. So that, I don't know how well y'all can hear it. Let me turn up the volume a little bit. That has like a nice, the low to mid frequencies are present, and it has a nice transient it's hitting. Increasing this changes the tone of it. Okay, but what I don't like about this sound is we have the just kind of like hanging out afterwards. That's our super boring sine wave. So we need to go to our amplitude here, and let's switch. Yeah, we're gonna switch to attack, hold, decay, put our attack time at 0, and now you could totally hear there was a lot more clickiness in that sound that we weren't getting when the attack was dialed in that way. So always remember your attack time is a great way to dial in the initial like spikiness of your snare or whatever sound you're doing. And if we, I think my phone went out for a second. All right, everything's in sync. Let me know if my voice is out of sync. My phone got weird for a minute. Sorry about that. If we pull in the hold time, when it has the note in there, that means it's going to reflect just like sustain does. It's going to reflect like the length of the trig. We don't want that for a drum sound like this. As soon as that note disappears, it is now a fixed time that we can also modulate if we want. Okay, so we're cutting a lot of that off. So now we need some noise. I could go here to like this fourth page and turn up the noise. Yeah, it sounds great. Maybe take off a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And maybe go into this attack page, open up our decay a bit. Now we're getting more of that brushy, sizzly noise type sound at the end of our tail, but it has that that sound, that annoying tone underneath. So this is where the third page, being able to dial it in separately from the attack, hold, decay, comes in handy. So we can pull in our decay. Another thing I've done in the past is just put the decay at the top and control this value, which is body level, through the LFO. That way you can apply an exponential envelope, which, it's going to start high and then dip down. Man, my phone keeps messing up, y'all. Lisinski Ed, thank you for being here, brother. It's good to see you. Mellow Kit, thanks for letting me know. My phone's being weird. Okay. My example, yeah, so, but I want my decay to be low like this. Okay, I don't know if y'all can hear it now, but I hear a difference between this, like the punchiness of the sound gets a little bit better. All right, save that. Now that tone is still not quite what I want, right? We can control the tone directly with this. I feel like the best frequency to aim for your snares, like the body of the snare, is probably lower than you might think it is. It's all dependent upon genre. But, your fundamental for your kick, let's say it exists somewhere between like 40 hertz and 100 hertz. Or 120 hertz, right? Your snare should probably be above that. So we might go back later and adjust this according to like what the kick is doing, because the reason I like them to be different frequencies like that is it makes a nice back and forth, There's a contrast, there's a push and a pull. And it's very subtle, but when you hear it in like any electronic song or any tuned drum kit, that's probably, that's going to be the case. Just like listen, try to focus in on like the fundamentals of where those two drums are and listen for the back and forth between them. Because when those two things are locked in a really pleasant contrast that in also contrasts but complements the other instruments around it in certain ways, then that's when you have a really satisfying, like, oh, that's the best kick I've ever heard. Usually the best kick you've ever heard is because it's sitting and serving a great song. You know, like when you're like, oh, that's the heaviest kick. That kick probably wouldn't sound particularly heavy in isolation. It sounds heavy because of how it fits in with the other sounds around it. Lisinski Ed says, I did it. I got a Dig Attack 2 to complement Digitone. Digitone 2 is better. LOL. Well, I don't know. Dig Attack 2 is pretty sick too. So I have a Dig Attack 1, and I've been having a lot of fun with that in the last like 2 or 3 months, but not as much recently. But it's been interesting to go back to it. Back to the snare, y'all. Okay, let's drop in a snare just in the most obvious place where a snare would go, and let's hear what it sounds like. I'm gonna pull the volume down. Lisinski Ed says, I agree, out of context drums sound silly. Glad I'm not the only one. So this snare is okay, it's cutting through. It has presence, but I think the tone is a little too low. So this is what's brilliant about the FM drum, is all the tools you need are in front of you as long as you know how they work, you know? Let me turn down track 3 a little bit. Being able to dial in, you know, that specific tone of the drum itself. Because maybe this would make sense. There are plenty of electronic songs where that would be the snare you want. Okay. Another thing I want to do now is pull down our noise level a bit. And then go back here to FX and put some overdrive. We'll do post filter. We're gonna do overdrive. Let me silence the other track so you can really hear it. Adding this overdrive is gonna kind of marry that thump with the sounds that follow so that they kind of smoothly hit as one sound together. So like this is with no overdrive. So now with overdrive, obviously it gets louder. Let's compensate for that. It definitely, you know, sort of degrades the sound. So a little bit can do a lot. But I find that it makes the presence of the noise, of like the splashy part of the snare, more prominent. It makes it kind of equally as prominent as the thump. And that's because like distortion is essentially clipping off the top of the waveform. The thump is just by nature going to be a louder, if you're just looking at the signals, the thump is going to be taller than the noise. We're sensitive to those high frequencies, so the noise would just be sitting, you know, like kind of low, and it would sound perfectly audible. It sounds how we want it. When you do that distortion, you're clipping off the signal. You're basically bringing those two things together. The thump is obviously, the tone is changing because it's, you know, getting distorted. It's still pretty much loud, even a little bit louder maybe, but the noise is there. It makes the balance feel a little bit better. So like just this final step here of finding the right level for the overdrive. Is kind of like the way that I like to marry those two sounds together. Pixel Ninja, thank you for being here, bro. It's good to see you again. And I like to do a little bit of sample reduction. So let's set, oops. I didn't realize it, but I was working with the overdrive in pre-filter mode. Now post filter mode isn't doing anything because we're not actually using the filter at all. We're not sure we need it, but that's just something to keep in mind whenever you're using the overdrive, because whether it's pre or post filter might change the sound a lot, especially for drum sounds. So, but I like to do a little sample rate. We're going to set it to post filter. Again, I haven't done anything to the filter yet, but I generally like to put the sample rate after the filter. So just a little bit gives it some character. Let's go back to hearing it with our song. Okay. Let's bring in the body of the hit. So it's like a little snappier if it's shorter. And I think we could pick maybe a higher fundamental frequency. I think the sound could be shorter too. Now we can also play with our waveform. This can get really nasty real fast, so sometimes just a little bit is the way to go. Let's just see. That seems to be helping. And maybe a little bit of wave folding, just a tiny bit. Okay, one more thing. Let's go to our LFO. Let's see, noise. Where is it? Noise, bass. Jump over here to that page where we control the noise, right? So the bass, that controls the sound, the tone of the, splash of the snare. If we pull it way up like this, and we take our LFO, we set this to exponential shape, one-shot mode, and set it to kind of a fast tempo. We'll put it on mult so that we could use this sound later potentially. And we dial it in backwards. It's going to jump that bass down, let in the low frequencies right as the initial hit hits, and then very quickly scoop them out. It's a subtle thing, right? Let's go fast with it. Let's jump to that page and let's bring down this. Let's also take our filter, and this is a low pass. Bring it down a little bit. I want to switch again to a different filter. Let's try the other one. So we're controlling that splash from the top and from the bottom. We're making sure that as the note runs out, as the snare finishes its sounds, it's left with just the higher frequencies. But at the same time, we're also kind of pinching off the top of those frequencies too. You still hear them, the envelope is going to jump forward and let them in on that initial hit. So that's like an exaggeration of the effect right there. Okay, again, this is subtle stuff, but I think it... All right, cool. Okay, now we need to make a kick. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Clutch Haskins. I appreciate you. Mellow Kit says, sorry, bro, I have to go to bed. I'll watch the replay. It's already 1:30 a.m. in Asia. May the force be with you always. May the force always be with you, my friend. And get some good rest. Now we want to make ourselves a kick. So we're going to dial in a pretty short sweep of time. Dial up our depth, right? Jump back to this third page and immediately bring down the body decay because that's annoying. Okay, and go back to this business right here. Actually, you know what? Let's try first without just, sweeping down the pitch really quickly. Let's just find a nice low note like that. And instead, let's try to do it with our FM. So that's giving us like kind of a sticky transient. If we do it right, we can make it sound not so high, because we need it nice and low and punchy. So that's giving us kind of a subtle transient. That's without it. That's with it. Also, this is probably still not low enough. Let's compare it to the tone of our snare. Okay. Okay, so that would be like an FM snare. It's a different type of sound than from a classic, because the classic snare is using sweep depth and a short ramp to give us a nice clicky sound, and it runs through. If you send your oscillator up really high and then drop it down really fast, and it's fast enough, we just hear it as just all those frequencies hitting at the same time. And especially this is like a nice, whatever. This is a nice exponential shape, so it's going to drop fastest in the beginning and then level out, and it's going to level out and arrive at whatever we want the tone of our drum to be, and then that's going to finish out with the body of the sound. I probably don't need to explain all this. So But this is an FM. This is an FM kick. It's a little different. If you ever listen to Autechre, I remember thinking like their kicks have a certain sound to them, and then I one day realized like, oh, it's because they're using FM to create their transients. It's just a different vibe. Jet Black says I look high. Is it are my eyes red because I was scratching my eyes this morning? That might be something to do with it. No, bro, I'm high on caffeine, bro. Drinking that coffee. I ran out. I'm fiending. And let's try to add some of this A ratio to it. Okay, so if we have a high ratio and we do the same thing, then it can really give us like a nice click. And we can dial it in like a really nice. Now, of course, we need to hear this over the beat, so that's like that's a fine, kick on its own. But who knows if that's going to be the right vibe. Let's jump over here to our overdrive, set it to post filter, and let's just push it a little bit. Yeah, just gives it a little bit of something. So I'm playing with the ratio A because if I'm raising the tone of that initial click, it can cut through the beat a little bit easier. Okay, that seems to be benefiting it. See, like, we can just dial in the tone we want. Now let's jump over here, play again with our phase. Okay, now let's try to play with our waveform a little bit on operator C. That changes the tone a lot. Okay, let's take out everything except the bass and the snare and the kick. Cool. All right, so clearing all that noise out of the way opens it up and I can hear a lot better the contrast between the sounds. Let's play again with our operator C. UBG Weirdo, thank you for being here, dog. Adding a little bit of feedback kind of helped the tone for me. It's pretty subtle, but let's pull out this overdrive. Okay. A little bit of feedback. Okay, I just pulled down the attack time on the amp. Again, opened up a huge... We're now getting that click, like in a really huge way. Okay. Okay. Cool. Save it. Cool. UBG weirdo, you're making me laugh, bro. I'm high on the Digitone 2 right now. I'm high on the possibilities of FM. All right, track 7. Let's try to make in like some hi-hats. I had fun recently using Swarmer to make some claps, so maybe we'll do that after. Let's do wavetone for now. So we're gonna pull down oscillator 2, so only getting oscillator 1. Jump to the next page, we're gonna switch the mode to ring mod fixed. Clutch Haskins, thank you, homie, I appreciate you, man. Woot Clace 8188, dope stuff, thank you, bro. Thank you for being here, man. All right. We're gonna make a hi-hat, and we are on the wave tone. So we're gonna flip it towards the square wave because it gets some nice metallic sounds with a square wave. Okay, now I turned on ring modulation, right? So if we change the pitch, what's happening is the ring modulation is coming out of this level, but it's both oscillators interacting. They're multiplying against each other, but then the ring mod, it just basically super complicates a tone by multiplying oscillators together, but then adding that sum that you get to the difference. It's a very odd like thing, but you get really cool, crazy sounds. Oof. And so we can do stuff like go to our LFO page and let's affect just the pitch of oscillator 1, put it in a nice ramp shape, put it in one-shot mode. So that's not what we want because that's a little too much. Let's flip over to the exponential waveform. A little bit better for drum sounds. Now y'all might be thinking like, yo, how is this gonna be a hi-hat? Truth is, I don't know yet, but I know we're gonna get there. And changing also the shape of oscillator 2 because it's both oscillators working together to create our sound. That will also affect. That's just a crazy sound right there. Let's go to our LFO, let's copy this, and now let's do the same thing with oscillator 2, but let's flip it the other direction. That's cool right there. Pull down our release. Now, the notes, because it's in ring mod fixed mode, which is what's set right here, this is like better for drum sounds because we're locking the pitch in place for oscillator 2. So we can get a more consistent tone. Otherwise, what would happen is we would move around the keyboard and both oscillators would be moving, which can be really cool. But that would be better for like, you know, creating a lead or a bass or something, and we were trying to make one sound. How we're gonna get there, I don't know, but we're gonna get there. This is like a road trip, right? It's like a journey. Okay, let's go to these LFOs and play around with the speed on this. Okay, that's interesting. Let's jump up the keyboard. So we're changing the note that is hitting. Actually, no. We're just going to stick to our bass note, which is, this is set to A sharp 5, right? So we're just going to change the pitch by using this. Now we're getting some really crazy, weird, cartoonish stuff. Okay, now the main reason why this doesn't resemble a hi-hat is because I'm just randomly hitting this button and it's existing for as long as I'm holding it for. In reality, a hi-hat is really a short sound, so we're going to go ahead and just lay down some hi-hats in here. I'm not ready yet to hear the other sounds with it. I want to hear it in solo. We're going to go here to our trig parameters and turn that down. Go to the amp. Pull in our release. Because like anything can be a hi-hat, right? Man, that could be crazy. That could be like a snare. And another big element of the hi-hat sound is we go here to our high pass. Pull it down to like... So we're only gonna kind of getting that crispy top end. Pull down our decay time of the envelope and then pull it back. Can the ant envelope be attack release mode or just attack decay? Yes, so if you go to amp mode, down here at the bottom where it says mode, you could switch it to attack hold decay. So, which, you know, pull down your hold, now you're just doing attack decay. That's what your options are. I mean, you can also bring down the sustain and just play between the release and the decay to kind of act as one general decay. For the hi-hats, I like to have some sort of sustain amount, right? And then control the amount of release. This is cool, but we need to keep playing with it. Okay, that sounds to me like a hi-hat. Let's play with our trig time. So we're making that sustain, hold for longer. And that's kind of working for me. Let's mess with the pitch, of just oscillator 2. And let's do it in free run mode. Put it in square wave, which is, like I said before, like the most disruptive wave. Let's turn it really fast and just start dialing that in. So adding a little bit is kind of giving it a little bit of noise, right? So that's something. So since this LFO affecting oscillator 2 is not doing much, let's jump here to this LFO and paste that down there. And now let's change this to affect LFO 2. So affecting our depth, we can do stuff like set a ramp, put it in one-shot mode. Okay. So the tone needs to be higher. There you go. That's a nice hi-hat that cuts through. Now there's some high notes, there's some high frequencies in there that I don't want, so I'm going to jump to the second page, set it to post filter, and use this second filter to kind of just pull those out. And then classic move with a hi-hat, put some sample rate on it. Again, I'm going to set it to post filter. That just turns it into noise, so we don't want to go that far. That has an interesting tone to it. Maybe not a traditional hi-hat sound, but it sounds good with the song. That's kind of cool. I'm glad y'all are digging this song. Clutch Haskins, Mr. Aegis, UBG Weirdo, Tactical MIDI. I appreciate y'all chiming in. Yeah, and the Digitone 2 versus the Digitone 1. It's, yeah, there's a, it's definitely a step up. So if you're interested in getting the Digitone 2 Tactical MIDI, go for it, man. You can always keep your Digitone 1. I still have mine, and I kind of want to bust it out again and maybe even do some videos with it, but I'm pretty happy. I mean, I use this almost every day, so hard for me not to endorse it. This has been a fun road trip, like UBG Weirdo was saying. You go on a journey, and then you're like, man, how did I get here? To me, that's what I think Digitone 2 does really well, and that's what I was really hoping to accomplish with this, sort of open-ended session, All right. Well, there's a couple things I'd like to do to keep adding to it. Like, the snare could use a nice big, like every, fourth bar or something to really really signal like we're coming back around. And also, obviously, like there could be some variations on this. But I think I need to call it there. As y'all may have heard, my dogs were barking a little loud earlier. Apparently, Clutch Haskins' dog was hearing my dogs, and they were, across the world speaking to one another, which is kind of beautiful when you think about it. Snake Jazz asked what the scale is. So this is track 8. So if we go to function keyboard setup, it's just the Phrygian scale. So not nothing crazy. That was it, but it was really fun to move around inside of those notes. And I just want to thank everybody for being here today. UBG Weirdo, cracking me up, Mr. Aegis, thank you for being here. Clutch Haskins, Snake Jazz, Giza IDM, Tactical MIDI, and we got some more here. Troy Wizard asking about snares today. Took me a little bit to get to the snares, but I hope I was able to share some of that snare magic with you because the Digitone 2 does it so well. Pixel Ninja, Lisinski Ed, thank y'all for being here as well. Mellow Kit, always appreciate you coming through. Screaming Strings, thanks for coming through. And then thank you everybody for offering their coffee insights, their coffee preferences. American 7517, thank you for being here. It's good to see you again. Flocky B2M, thank you. Yeah, so that's all I got for today. This was a lot of fun. And if you'd like to see me take this song further, like in the next session or something, let me know in the comment, in a chat or whatever. And yeah, otherwise, I hope everyone has a beautiful Sunday. This has been another edition of hanging out, making music with the Digitone 2 while drinking coffee and having fun. So y'all be good. Thank you for being here, Miko, and NBPEZUV, and Calamaku. Thank you for being here as well. Mr. Aegis, thank you, dog. I appreciate you.